Hello, this is Dr. Flight, and this is a short video presentation on the boundaries of marketing and target audiences. And so in this discussion, what we'll do is spend a little bit of time talking about what marketing is and what marketing is not. We'll look into the definition of a target audience. And then we'll also spend a little bit of time focusing on the intersect between marketing and nonprofits. So this is the boundaries of marketing, and look forward to any feedback that you have. So please feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you and enjoy. All right, so as we talk about boundaries of marketing and target audience, what we're really focusing here on is two things. One, what is marketing and what marketing is not. So there are many misconceptions out there in terms of what marketing is all about, and we want to dispel some of those today and think about how marketing can help the not-for-profit organization. So first off, what marketing is not. Marketing is not gimmicks, slick sales, pushy salespeople, and so forth. So, yes, we use marketing to build awareness, but that's not the only thing that marketing is. It's a whole lot more than that. It's not just a discount or a sale that happens over a weekend. It's certainly not the coercing of people to buy or accept an idea. We have this idea of the pushy salesperson. Well, that's not what we want to emphasize here, because marketing does a whole lot, and that's one thing that it doesn't do, not at least effectively in terms of working with the customer. We want to avoid deceptive advertising. We don't want to create products and services people don't need. Marketing is not a brainwashing tool. That's just simply not what we do. We don't want to be intrusive, and we don't want to make people do things that they don't otherwise want to do. So sometimes marketers get kind of a bad rap. They get characterized as doing some of these things. And in the past, some of these things were certainly done by marketers, for sure. But that's not what makes marketing effective. None of these things keep a customer long term, and we don't create value for the customer when we do these things. So this is not the type of stuff that we want to do. However, some people have the perception that this is what they do. So more to the point, what marketing is. So what we want to focus here on is what the definition of marketing might be. So marketing management, and marketing is the process of planning and executing programs that are designed to influence the behavior of target audiences by creating and maintaining beneficial exchanges for the purpose of satisfying individual and organizational objectives. All right, so there are a number of different definitions of marketing, but this is a pretty solid definition for a number of reasons. You may even want to pause the video to think about this for a little bit and make sure you really remember what marketing is and why we do it here. So some key notes here to take away from this definition. First, marketing is strategic. It's something that we plan, and it's a process that we do. It doesn't just happen organically. It's something that we think about doing and we actually engage in doing. Marketing is focused on creating and facilitating exchanges. So that's something that's important, right? Creating and facilitating exchanges is what we want to do with the client or with a customer. We focus on specific targeted markets or audiences. So we identify in advance who we want to communicate with and who would use our service. So that's a targeted thing. We seek to benefit audiences, and we help them achieve their objectives. All right, so that's a key thing here. We have exchanges. We want to satisfy individual and organizational objectives. For sure, it's strategic. We have a focused target audience. And then ultimately, and this is very important to remember, that ultimately the job of marketing is to influence some form of behavior. So we want people to buy our product or use our service or stop a bad habit or start a good habit. So we want to be able to influence behavior in some way. That's the goal of marketing. Be sure to remember that. right? Influence behavior. That's key. We want to know that that's going on there. All right, so a little bit about how we got here then, the evolution of marketing. And, marketing has been a practice that businesses have engaged in for a long period of time. And through time, we've gone through different eras or periods of how we approach the idea of marketing. So early on, like during the Industrial Revolution, like 100 years ago plus, the idea was we were going to create products and services, and we're going to produce it as much as we can with a factory and the continuous production line and so on and so forth. And we're going to produce what we can because we can. Not necessarily because it's needed or not because it necessarily meets the customer's needs specifically, but simply because we can. So during the Industrial Revolution, we had lots of new products and advances, and production technology was big. So new factories, new production capabilities, and we decided to offer products because we could produce it, and the firm, thought it had value. Moving forward, we got into the sales mindset or a sales era where we had there was a lot of volume, a lot of capacity, a lot of product, and we had to get that product out to the customers effectively and quickly. So the whole skill set of selling was developed. Sales tactics. Now, very often these were very, very strong persuasive selling tactics, and sometimes salespeople were heavy-handed, and that didn't really serve the customer very well. Now, moving forward through the 60s and 70s, we got more into an advertising era or a marketing era. And then beyond that, into what we are today, we're focused more on the target audience mindset, where we're looking at the customer, we're looking at the client, and we're asking them specifically what they want, what they need, and then we're letting them instead of us. So before it was we, like a long time ago, it was we. Now it's the customer. Now it's the customer or the audience that helps decide what we will do as an organization. Okay, so there's an evolution here that's going on, and this evolution continues. We're continuing to evolve in terms of how marketing is done and how it plays a role in the firm. All right, so this isn't without challenges, though. So target audience centered organizations, we'll talk a little bit more in another segment, but there's a challenge to this, and one of which for nonprofits in particular is that customer-centered organizations require more resources, and resources tend to be constrained for-profits and also for nonprofits as well. So in other words, we need money, time, resources, energy, manpower to help focus our energy more on the customer, but we don't always have the resources to do that. A singular focus on mission or process is oftentimes a problem that firms have. So in other words, the organization may focus on themselves and getting their job done as opposed to focusing on the customer. So if the nonprofit is too focused on their mission, they may not be focused enough on the client. Here's an example. A food service agency may be too concerned about exceeding nutritional requirements by serving kale and Brussels sprouts. So they want to do good because they have the objective of getting people healthy food. So kale and Brussels sprouts are healthy food. But what happens if the customer doesn't like kale and doesn't like Brussels sprouts? What if the client doesn't like that type of food? Well, the agency met its objective of providing a healthy meal, but they didn't really do any good because the customer client probably didn't eat it. So they kind of missed the big picture of actually helping the customer in order to serve their mission or process because that's what they knew how to do. So that's a good example of how a firm can be too focused on themselves in the production capacity and the production mindset and not focused on the target audience and have that mindset for them. And then finally here, another idea that helps hold back firms from this modern view of marketing is that they may too broadly or too narrowly define their target market that's being served. So an organization might think that everybody should use their service. They can serve everybody. They can serve anyone out there because they, feel everybody needs them. Well, the reality is having too broad of a focus, that might be thought of as like a mass marketing approach. Having a mass marketing approach means that you're going to, provide a service, but it won't completely satisfy everyone. You'll partially satisfy a lot of people. So you may not be meeting people's needs effectively in that particular case. Too narrowly defining your target audience, though, is problematic too, because it means you're following too narrow of a perspective and you're not helping enough people. So at one end of the spectrum, you've got a mass marketing approach where you sort of help lots and lots and lots of people, but you don't really help them effectively. At the other end, you are doing something called a niche market approach, where you're targeting a very, very, very small group of consumers or clients. And the problem is you're not reaching enough people to, again, be very effective. Okay, so staying on focus then is something we need to try to do. We need to try to identify who our targets are in this type of marketing and within the bounds of this marketing. And it's hard, but it's worth it. So nonprofits with an audience focus generally have a better performance, like overall, right? So that's an important type of thing. Affect or emotional response is also positively effective when nonprofits focus on a clear target audience. Okay, so focusing on a clear target audience helps the organization perform better. That's number one. Number two, it helps your clients be more emotionally involved with you. You're able to get more emotional tie-in. And number three, commitment to the organization is also positively impacted or affected. Okay, so as a marketer, you want to, number one, have a target audience focus. You don't want to be pushy. You don't want to do all those marketing things that are bad, right? Number two, you also want to be able to focus on the customer, or have a target audience that's effective. So in this summary, or in this kind of wrap up here, we talked about what marketing is, the definition of marketing, and why we do marketing. And we also listed some things that it's not. We also talked about the different mindsets, the three different mindsets involved with marketing. Having a product service, which is like the Industrial Revolution, and then we had a sales mindset, which was like from the 20s through the 60s or so. In between there, we actually had a marketing mindset or a advertising mindset. But nowadays we focus on a target audience and the target audience mindset. And that helps us move forward. And then finally, we talked about the challenges and benefits for having the target audience focused nonprofit. So remember those benefits. Don't lose sight of those. When a nonprofit is focused on a specific target audience, they perform better. There's more emotional connection, and there's greater commitment among the clients. So clients are more emotionally attuned to the nonprofit, and they're more committed for positive impact. Okay, so this was then a brief lecture talk on the boundaries of marketing, and we introduced the idea of target audiences. Thanks. Let me know if you have any questions. Take care.